Hello, hello everybody, it's GirlGotGame and welcome to another Gander video. Today I am taking a gander at the demo for Celestial Crowns. And as you saw, we had an amazing opening for this already. This looks gorgeous. I saw this floating around on Twitter and went to check out the Kickstarter and was like, yes. Not in small part just because the player character you are is completely dressed in purple. And I'm like, my aesthetic. Mwah. Perfect. I love it. So this is being developed by Harleven. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And it is currently in Kickstarter until June the 1st. The story for Celestial Crowns is on the continent. Royals are thought to be descended from the gods that hang in the sky, the planets. They appeared on Earth one day with incredible elemental powers. Their spellcrafting could freeze an entire army solid, sink a castle into the ground, rain lightning from the sky, or set a city ablaze. Eventually, territories formed that became the existing kingdoms on the continent, with the royals crowned as their monarchs. Nowadays, spellcrafting is considered a dead art. Most royals have either lost the gift entirely as technology diminished the need or use it for mere parlor tricks. You play as the newly crowned monarch of Lauté. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and if I'm not, I'm sorry. With your kingdom on unsteady ground after your father's recent assassination. The first big challenge you have is not bumping your head into your microphone. The first big challenge you face will shape the history of Lauté forever. The king of your neighbor Andromeda is so reclusive no one outside of his castle has ever seen his face. All that is known about him is that he is the last remaining spellcrafter, and he has given you an ultimatum. Accept his hand in marriage or go to war. So, there you go. But with that being said, this King of Andromeda is not the only love interest, as you can see from the opening and also from our screen here. So yeah, let's see who we fall for. Let's jump in. Choose your name. I'll go default. I like Terra. Batel. Choose your falcon's name. Ooh, Beetle? Betel? Do I want to change my falcon's name though? Yeah, I'm gonna change it to Glint, actually. I'll stay as Terra. So you have two options you can choose from, either the masculine or the feminine. See, look at all this purple, it's so gorgeous. I'll go she. Ooh, and you can even choose your title, nice. Your Highness, Your Majesty, Sire, my Queen, my King, my Monarch, Supreme, my Lady, my Lord. I'll go my Queen. Why not? Let's go spicy. Let's go. The music in this demo is placeholder music and will be replaced when the OST is complete. Not all the background assets used are final. The full game will feature many more CGs as well. Thank you for playing. Sure, I'm curious. What's the tutorial? Is it just the standard visual novel stuff? No, it's not. There are 9 different stats you can raise to build your character's personality. These stats are displayed as planet icons at the bottom of the screen. Mouse over them to see the corresponding stat. You can turn this off by turning off tooltips. You can hide the stat bar via the quick menu in the text box. Strengths: confident, practical, witty. Flaws: impulsive, naive, spoiled. Ruling styles: aggressive, strategic, gentle. Okay. Each character has preferred traits. They also have disliked traits. To pursue your desired love interest, you'll need to think about what sort of traits they'd like and how you will rule your kingdom. Most choices have a planet icon. This represents what stat will raise upon selecting that choice. If a choice has no planet icon, it might cause the story to branch in different ways or raise or lower multiple stats. Some choices have unlock requirements. For example, if you have a low practical stat, you might not be able to select a practical choice later. Think carefully about the selections you make. Ooh, I like that a lot. Continue. Looks gorgeous.
To Terra, the Queen of Lauté, this will be my final offer. Your attempts to avoid responding with your non-answers and flowery wording are both insulting and unamusing. My ultimatum: if I do not hear from you in 1 month's time, or your next letter does not bear favorable results, you leave me no choice. Lauté and Andromeda must be united for the good of both kingdoms. It is up to you if it must be by force. A war is on your hands if you cannot swallow your pride. Think hard on your decision. I have the honor to be your neighboring king, His Royal Majesty Aalam.
I think that's how you say that. Aalam? I think it's Aalam, actually. Aalam. I set the letter back on my desk and close my eyes as the situation sinks in. Lauté has just been threatened by a hostile nation. Why is it that as soon as Father's gone, everything falls apart? Andromeda's messenger falcon waits patiently on the windowsill for my response, watching me with dark, glinting eyes. His presence agitates my own falcon, who sits in the corner. His blue-gray feathers are ruffled in agitation. The reddish feathers on her chest are ruffled in agitation. Yeah, I'd like a lady hawk, please. My study has always been a warm, inviting place where I could go to ease the stress of the day. Now, sitting here and staring at the pile of deceivingly beautiful parchment that marks each letter King Aalam has sent me, all I feel is stress. Okay, how dare he? I smile to hide the panic spreading through me. I understand where he's coming from. Yeah, I like this. This is fine. Everything's fine. Is this really happening? Well, I look up to my advisor with a heavy measure of exasperation. It appears my last letter was not well received. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. This is the guy who, like, stole my heart just from, like, looks alone. And I was like, interesting. I mean, look at this guy. He's incredible looking. As I predicted. And what was I to do? I can't simply agree to marriage on such short notice like this. What would you do if someone proposed to you a month after you took the throne? And not only that, but it was a proposal with a dagger on the other end. I rise and move to the large rug in the middle of the room because it is the best rug for pacing on. I can't answer that. This is about you. Well, it's only fair. You're my advisor. Advise. I would do what's best for my people, and I've told you what I believe that is. But how do you know? You will learn in time, as your father did, that I am usually correct. Father. I can't say what he would have wanted. He prided himself on the fact that Lauté was a peaceful kingdom with no history of inciting war. When we were attacked by Andromeda a century ago, their soldiers slaughtered hundreds, razed houses to the ground. If we went to war again, I have no doubt they would commit the same atrocities. Yet, our family has ruled for generations. It was our ancestor who was first believed to be the goddess of this land and chosen as queen. To step down like that and hand power to someone else simply to avoid a fight. Well, I suppose nothing is simple. I look to the window where the falcon continues to stare relentlessly. With a little sigh, I rise and walk to one of the bookshelves behind my desk, pulling out a tin of grasshoppers. When I toss one over, he jerks his head to the side to snatch it from the air, swallowing appreciatively. I hear Glint tap her beak against the bars of her cage, jealous. This will take me some time. Why don't you find something else to fill you, You must be hungry after your long flight. The Andromedan falcon appears to hesitate, as if he received orders to remain until a letter was given. But hunger wins out after having his appetite whet, and he flies off toward the forest. War in this day and age. I never thought we'd have to face it. The world is overdue for a war.
Our neighbors to the south seem to be spoiling for one.
You interpret Canis's missives so negatively.
I interpret them how they're meant to be read. You have yet to master the art of reading between the lines.
Let us not speak of it anymore, one problem at a time. Looking good, though. What do we know about King Aalam, really? No one outside of Andromeda has ever seen him. I heard he even forbids paintings or drawings of his visage.
His father and his father's father were both assassinated. I think he has good reason to avoid public appearances.
I've also heard that he can spellcraft. Do you think that could be true?
Just because most kingdoms have lost spellcrafting in the royal line does not mean all have. It's not impossible.
The only truly impressive spells that remain are the ones built into the castle. A few powering lights, running water, heated water. In the city, they must pump their water, then boil it if they want a hot bath. My maid and I used to joke that there was no King of Andromeda, and that his advisor, who sends out their quarterlies, was the person running the show. In his letters, he's much less interesting than the rumors.
I'm sure he feels the same way about you.
How lovely of you to say. Loon looks at me and sets the letter down on top of the stack.
I might also say that it is inappropriate to gossip about such things with the help, but my words have fallen on deaf ears before.
Thoughts frazzled and no closer to a solution, I walk back to my desk and pull a sheet of fresh parchment from the pile in the corner. Leave me. I must write my response.
Are you certain you wouldn't like me to write a draft?
No, I think I should do this. Loon twists his lips as I settle myself back in my seat. I know, it's inappropriate, but this is too important to delegate.
As you wish.
Don't look at me like that. It's only a letter. Under different circumstances, being alone together in my study would be inappropriate, but here we are. Loon stares at me as if I've said something offensive. What's a match?
Your Highness, I am your advisor, not a match.
I said under different circumstances. I pull my largest inkwell toward me and pick up a quill, muttering under my breath as I start formulating the letter in my head. Just give me a quick second. I just want to see what these do. Settings, history, save. Okay. Just curious. I pull my... Did I read this? If I did, I'm reading it again. I pull my largest inkwell toward me and pick up a quill, muttering under my breath as I start formulating the letter in my head. Now leave me.
Fine. Don't forget the Andromedan ambassador will be arriving soon. Today, possibly. Remember what we discussed. We want to make a good impression, lest the king decide war is preferable to tolerating you.
I'm going to focus on the advice you just gave me instead of the implication that I'm not marriage material. Loon leaves and the guards outside close the door behind him. What a breath of fresh air that boy is. I take a breath and dip the nib of the quill into night black ink. Dear King Aalam, thank you ever so for your letter, which I've just received on this Thursday, the 13th day of Ven. I do apologize if my previous letters have come off as if I am avoiding responding to your demands. I can assure you that was not my intention. We've been having a lovely dry season. How is the weather in Andromeda? Mild, I hope. I hear that it is so cold in the winter that ice falls from the sky. Is this true? Fascinating how the planets have created Earth to be so varied. In any case, I'm afraid I'm a bit slow and should like to see your proposal written out in full before I dare even consider accepting. Please return your response at your earliest convenience with a clear outline of what you need from me. I have the honor to be your kind neighbor, Queen Terra. It takes time to both craft an appropriate response and write a draft where my penmanship is worthy of my title. By the time I've finished, the falcon has returned to the windowsill. Come. I beckon him over, and as he flies and settles himself on my desk, I roll the letter into a neat scroll and seal it with my personal seal. Take this to King Aalam. Place it in no one's hands but his. The falcon gives a dutiful wave of his talons before shooting off towards the window. I watch him fly, sucking in a lungful of air and curling my toes in my shoes. 1 month. Just 1 month to decide the fate of my kingdom. I've never felt less ready to rule. I've been given 2 options, and I do not fancy the first. It does not make the second any more palatable. But if war is possible, I must confer with the general. I need to know if it's feasible, or if we'd be defeated before our swords left our sheaths. After leaving my study, one of the 2 guards outside follows me down the hall. The familiar marching cadence of their heavy footsteps is simultaneously relaxing and irritating. When I'd merely been in air, the guards had not tottered after me like baby ducklings. I am still attempting to let it fade into the background as father could. We take the main stairs down and then turn toward the east wing and the door to the training grounds. Unsurprisingly, the general is there. What is surprising is finding him mid-duel. Oh, we get a picture of this. I recognize his opponent as one of the newer recruits, a fresh-faced little thing who is constantly hovering around the general. I don't remember his name, but I remember how the general flushed at the kid's obvious admiration. He's always been too humble for his own good. The trainee is breathing hard, face red with exertion, sword arm shaking with every block and attempted swing. I wait patiently on the sidelines as they spar, knowing it will be over soon. The general is in excellent form, all his movements purposeful. He disarms the trainee with little effort and brings the wooden sword to his throat.
I yield!
The harsh expression leaves the general's face, and he smiles, lowering his weapon.
Great job, Leo. Big improvement.
Aw, shucks, General, you beat me something good. I'm nowhere near your level.
Don't need to be. We don't count our seeds before they grow.
You're right. Queen Terra!
General Hamada whips around, apparently startled by my appearance.
Oh, such wiggly. My queen! What's got you coming all the way? I mean, is there anything I can assist you with, my queen?
General Hamada, we must speak. Do you have a moment, General? General, I need your expertise. Yeah, let's go strategic. The general stands a little straighter, increasing his already impressive height.
I'm happy to help. What's the puzzle?
The same one I've been dealing with for the past 6 months. The general frowns in understanding.
Andromeda.
Precisely. I think it's better if we have a private conversation.
All right. Leo here can chaperone.
I wave my hand. No, this is a delicate matter. Come with me to the council room. We will speak alone. The general gives me a blank stare as if he's still the clueless 16-year-old kid I met all those years ago and not an impressive knight in shining armor.
But my queen, is that really...
I'm surprised at you, General. I wouldn't think you cared.
Oh, well, it's just... I am a match now. Thought it wouldn't be appropriate.
Since my father promoted him to general a year ago, that makes him an eligible marriage candidate. I've been around Sahi so long without having to think about that sort of thing that it's hard to change my mindset. Okay, so Loon is not a match, but Sahi is. I shake my head, deciding propriety will have to wait, gosh darn it. It's fine. Time is of the essence. We must speak, and I'd rather not call the council and have dozens of differing opinions biting at my ears. The general gives a hesitant nod. I take a step closer and speak quietly, so Leo and the guard might be spared my words. Andromeda has given me a 1-month ultimatum.
Understood, my queen.
I'll continue my drills, General Hamada, sir!
That's fine, Leo. Why don't you take a break? Overworking yourself is the quickest way to a cold, and we need our soldiers well.
Yes, sir! I am hungry, sir.
He scurries off, then skids to a halt and turns.
My queen!
Are all your troops so taken with you?
Oh, nah, I think Leo's just happy he passed his first trial. Been asking for extra lessons since he got here.
Well, I am glad to see our new recruits so eager. Come. I turned to the guard who accompanied me from my study. You're dismissed. All I need to fulfill the requirements of guard detail is someone capable with me. I much prefer Sahi. Having a guard constantly behind me rattles my nerves, as if it is inevitable that something will happen. The general comes up next to me, walking directly by my side. General Hamada, you should know by now that 2 steps behind is customary. I don't mind. I've known Sahi so long that he doesn't feel like a subordinate. On a whim, I slow my pace until I'm a few steps behind him. Interesting. On a whim. So what do these things mean again? So the red one is spoiled. That's naive. And then this is impulsive. I'm torn between these two. I'm gonna go impulsive. The general turns curiously, tilting his head. After a moment, he seems to understand and quickly backtracks until he's the one behind me.
I'm sorry, my queen. I'm always forgetting myself.
Don't worry, General. We've been acquainted since we were still children, and walking behind the heir isn't a requirement. Sahi gives me a sheepish smile.
Yes. We have known each other since we had pig's tails, haven't we?
Commoner idioms have always eluded me. Most of the time I can understand the general gist, but at times like this I have to smile and nod. Ah yes, those pigtails,
How have you been adjusting to all this? Being queen?
Well, I might have adjusted better without this Andromeda nonsense. I still recall that first letter. I could not believe it.
I wouldn't either. It must have been a shock.
Sahi clears his throat, gripping the hair on the back of his neck.
So you weren't flattered at all?
Flattered? By a declaration of war?
No! By the proposal!
Ah. No, I could not be flattered by his odorous actions.
Right, of course.
We take the staircase up to the 2nd floor, then down the hall to the council room. I know this is the most direct route, but I can't help it slow the closer we get. This takes us past the library. As soon as we pass its tall double doors, I falter, like I have every time I've had to take this route in the past 6 months.
My queen, everything all right?
Yes. My apologies. That was the last place I saw my father alive. I close my eyes against the image that threatens to overtake my brain, taking a deep breath. My head starts spinning and my knees go weak.
Terra?
Sahi takes hold of my shoulders. His gloved hands are heavy on my skin and startle me out of my head. Sahi is the only person who ever touches me, aside from the maid who helps me in the mornings. He's also the only person who slips up and calls me by name. It's not technically allowed, but he was not formally trained in royal etiquette like the members of the court or council or even the castle station guards and servants were. He had so many meetings with my father when we were younger, and I'd liked attending. It tickled me that we had the same scars over the same eyebrow. I felt we simply had to be friends. Oh, so you do. That's cute. Father always called me Terra, so Sahi assumed it was okay to do so too. Though we're older, he still hasn't fallen out of the habit. Yes, my apologies. I just had a dizzy spell. Sahi glances over at the door to the library, frowning.
You need a minute.
No, I'm fine. Let us continue. If you could let go of me.
Uh.
He rips his hands away, clasping them behind his back as he takes a few steps in the opposite direction.
Awful sorry, my queen.
As we arrive in the council room, I take another deep breath to calm my frazzled nerves. There is far more to worry about than things beyond my control. The room's back wall is decorated with a large mural that details our kingdom's history. The monarch's seat has its back to this illustrated history. And as I approach, I see the ghost of my father. When I blink, it dispels the image. Close the door. Whoa, this is ginormous. I love this perspective. This is really cool. When I don't hear the sound of the door closing, I turn to regard the general with a curious look.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure Mr. Blushy Pants closed the door. Sure about what?
Right, you're sure. Of course you're sure. You're the queen and all.
He turns and pushes the door shut so slowly I don't even hear the click of the latch. Then he turns around to face me, his hands clasped behind his back. I gesture to the seat next to me. Can you come closer?
Closer. Sure.
After a few seconds, Sahi walks over to the table and pulls out the high-backed chair next to me. All right then. Now tell me, General. Realistically, what are our chances of success if we were to go to war against Andromeda?
You mean you're considering...
I have to look at every option, but I don't want to cause a panic. I want to hear your opinion before I bring this up to the rest of the council.
We have good men and women who would fight to the death for this kingdom, my queen. But...
But?
Well, you know the rumors. That King Aalam can spellcraft.
Yes.
If there's one thing I know about Andromeda, it's that they follow tradition. He would be on the front lines. And if he's on the front lines with that kind of power, I'm not sure how we could stop him.
He's not invincible. There must be some strategy we can try.
Maybe he can only light candles with a snap of his fingers, or call ice sculptures into existence by waving his hands like the Queen of Canis. But there are tales of the ancient royals that say they could rain fire down from the sky. That they could reform the earth beneath your feet, or freeze you solid before you can blink.
Oh, come now, surely that can't be true.
It does sound pretty fantastic. But that's the point. We don't know. The soldiers have been gossiping about it since Andromeda's first missive after, the king's passing. They're scaring themselves. That alone is enough to put us at a disadvantage.
He reaches out one gloved hand to tap on the map etched into the wood of the table, pointing out Merrick Forest.
One thing we do have on Andromeda is our resources. Our mines allow us to generate weapons and armor at a faster pace. Andromeda's so cold and mountainous, they can't explore enough of their territory to find new supply points. I suspect this is what King Aalam truly wants. Prosperity and ample resources for his people. That's why I think another solution would be to reopen the Betelgeuse trade route.
What, really? Loon always says the trade ban is the only thing that gives us power over Andromeda.
I think it would truly make a difference. It would show the king that there are ways to merge our kingdoms without resorting to war.
I lean back in my seat as I consider this, squeezing my hands together, unable to help muttering under my breath. Oh yes, the king has been considering other ways to merge as well.
What?
Nothing. I think it's a good idea. Something to consider, at least. Sahi's confident posture drops and he stares at me with wide eyes.
What? Truly?
Yes. Why do you doubt yourself? You're the youngest General Lauté has ever had. You're clearly intelligent. Sahi ducks his head and clears his throat.
Well, I can't speak to that, my queen. I just thought, I should have saved the advice for Loon, since he's supposed to be the only one with your ear and all.
Oh my. Ah, okay, so some are locked. So, I would have had Luna's too cautious. It's good to get other opinions sometimes if I was confident. If that's all, I have other things to be doing practical. I will listen to who I please. Spoiled. A queen and her general should be close. Aggressive, yeah. If you ever have something to tell me, don't hesitate, General. But, I have wit. I have whatever the blue thing is. Is that just like a... Oh, sometimes they don't have planets, right? So then that's to... That'll branch the story, I think? Okay. You broke propriety so you wouldn't have to talk to Loon. I understand. I'd probably do the same. That would have been more appropriate. Well, I do like my advisor very much, so I will share this with the advisor. I think he'll like this idea as well. I'm sure he'll be thrilled. I'll be sure to credit you for the idea.
Oh. Great.
Sahi drums his fingers on the table and looks up at the ceiling. Would you prefer I not?
Huh? Oh, no. By all means. Just means you're taking it seriously and everything. Loon's part of the council too. Thanks.
Yes, exactly. I smile at him, resting my elbows on the table. Considering what we're dealing with, perhaps I should have you and Advisor Lemaire working more closely together anyway.
Well, no need to change things up. I think the way you've been going is just fine.
Do you not like Loon, Sahi? Am I sensing a problem here?
I should get back. I do need to prepare for afternoon practice. I'll see you at your next lesson.
Of course. Sahi bows, and I watch him leave the room and close the door behind him. Once he's gone, I focus my attention on the table. Ending the trade ban with Andromeda. Just considering it would make my father roll over in his grave. But the general is right. That is their real goal. Not necessarily a uniting, but a sharing. If our two kingdoms were bonded by marriage, then a trade ban would no longer be appropriate. It would have to be amended. Perhaps it is something King Aalam would consider. I suppose there's only one way to find out. Though nothing has changed, I feel better with this additional option. Less backed into a corner. Even still, I must make a decision. Do I agree to marry King Aalam and leave Lauté to a successor? My family lineage ended like a candle snuffed. I could appoint Loon or Sahi, and I'm sure they'd do an excellent job running the kingdom in my stead, but that isn't the point. This is my birthright. I've long waited to take the throne, to be Lauté's ruling monarch. While it did not happen the way I intended, this is all I ever wanted. Could I give that up for guaranteed peace? I don't know. And Sahi's right, there are too many unknowns about Andromeda's capabilities. We would need to gather more information. Perhaps the Andromedan ambassador, when he arrives, will give us some insight. I know that Loon would see ending the trade ban as the most extreme option. It goes against all the history we have with Andromeda. I sigh and trace the route from Lauté to Andromeda on the map with my finger. Ow! A spark startles me and I yank my hand back, annoyed. Knowing nothing will come of brooding, I rise and walk to the door. Just before I swing it open, there's a knock. Oh. My queen, I have news! Oh, hello. I pull open the door to see Celeste, my personal maid. What is it? She looks like she's barely holding back her excitement. For Celeste, though, this isn't saying much. She gets the same way whenever Loon walks into the room. Ah, I found my spirit animal. Nice to meet you, Celeste.
The Andromeda Ambassador is here with the royal guard. Oh, wait until you see. They make quite a picture.
Already? Loon had said soon, but I hadn't imagined it would be this soon.
Yes. Will you change?
I looked down at my dress. What is wrong with this? Celeste leans back and threads her fingers together.
Nothing, of course, my queen. It's just very... Well, I mean, you have at least 3 fine dresses, but you wear the same thing every day. Wouldn't you like to shake it up a little? He will be reporting everything to someone who could be your future husband.
I do not wear the same thing every day, and I hardly care what impression the Andromeda Ambassador has of me. Celeste pouts in disappointment. She loves any excuse to dress me up, really. I'm like a giant doll to her. After a moment, she peers past me into the room.
I just saw General Hamada leave here. Were you two alone?
We were discussing a private matter.
My queen! I did not see this coming.
What? Celeste? The General and I were just talking, honestly. Must you corrupt every scenario you come across?
Well, that's a relief. I think you could do much better.
What? What's wrong with the General?
Nothing! Just... Well, he's a bit of a prude, isn't he? And rather plain. I know everyone in the castle loves him, but whose opinion will you trust? Some servant you don't know from stars, or me?
I fold my arms across my chest, struggling not to look amused. Better to be in good spirits for this critical meeting, I suppose. It will be hard, though. What sort of king sends his ambassador when he is supposedly trying to woo someone? Come on, then. I'm ready.
This is so exciting! Did you know this is the first time Andromedans have stepped foot on Lauté soil in nearly 200 years?
No, I did not.
Oh, my queen, that was a trick question. That was only just in your history lesson the other day. You must pay more attention. You're queen now. If you never finish your lessons, what will people think?
Hey! Tricking the queen is against the law. Now, come on. Have they been taken to the throne room?
Yes, they're there now. Sirius is keeping them entertained.
Right. Celeste and I hurry down the hall. When we arrive in the throne room, my council is already there, including the advisor and general. A full delegation of Andromedans wait in the center of the room. They're dressed so strangely, in clothes lined with fur that's much too warm for the weather here. Front and center is a man with an imperious expression, who I assume must be the Andromeda Ambassador. All of the Andromedans are much taller than us louts, but the Ambassador in particular towers over them all. He might even be taller than Loon, and he's the tallest lout I know. Nerves freeze my stomach. My palms grow so cold it feels like they're sweating frost. This is my first time meeting a foreign official as queen. It is my first time meeting a foreign official at all. I never accompanied my father on trips to other lands, and it was not common for us to get visitors tucked away in the mountains as we were. Did I say were? Whoops. As we are. Sorry about that. Once I'm seated, a servant steps forward to announce our guests.
Introducing His Lordship, Ambassador Rift Karim of Andromeda.
The ambassador steps forward, coming to stand before the throne.
You are Queen Terra, I assume. Do you keep all your guests waiting so long?
He speaks in a booming voice that seems to fill the entire room, making me lean back in my seat. I am taken aback by the criticism, unused to being spoken to so rudely. Ooh. So I have all of these open to me now. I might have come sooner had I a king waiting for me and not just his ambassador, dang. I was caught up with something. Yes, it is a Lauté tradition. Thank you for respecting it. Do all your men attempt to bully their way into marriage? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. You are in my castle now, Ambassador. I expect to be treated with respect, as I have respected your king by allowing you here. Is the king so afraid of his own shadow that he will not deign to grace me with his presence? I decide to ignore the question. Welcome to Lauté, Ambassador. I decide to ignore the question. I hope this will be a peaceful assembly, Ambassador. Let's see. I like the witty one. That's kind of rude. I'm also leaning towards the ignoring the question. Sure. Strategize this for me. The ambassador makes a small noise of irritation in the back of his throat, but gives no more complaint.
As declared in our last letter, I have come to discuss the options for Lauté and Andromeda moving forward.
Yes, your king seems fairly intent on two.
Those are the only options he sees. You have been dismissive of my king's letters.
Dismissive is a strong word. Loon warned me, but I did not initially grasp the gravity of the situation. It was hardly a month after my father's death that the first letter came. There were other things on my mind. Not dismissive. I simply have not made up my mind. He folds his arms across his broad chest.
That is why I am here. We hope an in-person discussion will help you come to a decision.
I sit forward in my chair and narrow my eyes. The king said that I would have a month. Is he going back on his word?
Not at all. I look forward to spending the next month with you, Queen Terra.
He cannot be serious. I snap my eyes over to Loon, but he seems unsurprised by this turn of events. I suppose it is unreasonable to expect him to leave immediately after a journey that took weeks. Loon badgering me daily about what I will do is enough. To have an entirely new council doing the same thing? On top of that, having him and the other Andromedans in the castle for so long makes me uneasy. What if their intentions are less than honorable? What if this is all a ploy to gather intel for an inevitable war? Calm down, Terra. You're getting as paranoid as Loon. I take a breath, force myself to relax, and nod my head. Right.
Allow me to introduce my company. I have with me 3 of the king's most trusted council members. Council Member Isis, Council Member Damsa, Council Member Jalil.
He does not acknowledge the other 6 with him. Considering they are dressed in armor and carry weapons, I assume they are members of the Royal Guard. The others look to be servants. Welcome to Lauté, Council. You will meet my own council in due time. Still feeling rather blindsided, I cannot help but call out their timing. I must admit, I was not expecting you so soon.
We made good time through the valley. The weather was on our side.
The planets must have blessed your path.
Realizing I have not introduced Loon, I press an open palm in his direction. Ah, this is my royal advisor, Loon Lemaire. He will, of course, be joining our discussions.
Yes, we spoke while waiting for you to arrive.
Suddenly, I do regret showing up late. I will have to ask Loon what exactly he said later. Eager to end the tedious greetings, I rise and Loon does as well.
In honor of this momentous occasion, we shall hold a grand ball the week of your departure.
I force a smile, glancing at Loon and wondering why on earth he said that. I vaguely recall a tradition like that tucked away in our laws for visiting dignitaries, but surely the play of propriety could be excused. We are on the brink of war. There's a smattering of applause, so all I can do is lift my hands and clap as well. Exhausted at the thought of the long month that awaits, I give my excuses. Well, you must be tired from your journey. Sirius will be your personal servant during your time here. They will show you and your ensemble to your rooms. We will meet first thing in the morning to discuss your concerns. I gesture for Sirius to do just that and turn to leave the way I came.
No, I want to speak now. You have been putting it off for far too long.
I'm hardly prepared to meet, especially with the new options Sahi has presented to me. I grit my teeth and glance at Loon. He does not indicate what he thinks I should do. It figures when I actually want his opinion, he remains silent. What to do, what to do. This is a tough one. I would like to get Loon's opinion on this trade thing. But at the same time, I do want things to be kind of peaceful. I'm gonna make a save. Can I make a save? Oops. Yes. I'm gonna make a save right here. I think it would be best to wait until morning. The ambassador frowns and looks at one of the people who accompanied him. I stand tall and try to look more authoritative than I feel. The Andromedans speak quietly for a few moments. Finally, Ambassador Rift turns again to face me. There is a sour look on his face, but he bows his head and then places his hands on his hips. I silently thank whichever council member talked him out of arguing.
As you say, where is the Sirius?
Here, your lordship. Please, follow me. Sirius leads the Andromedans out of the throne room and down a hall toward the south wing. As they leave, I press a hand to my stomach, exhaling.
Fix your face, my queen.
Excuse me?
They can still see you.
When I glance down the hall, I see the ambassador watching me from over his shoulder. I frown and turn to face the hall, scowling even more just because I can. This is a disaster.
I am glad you're not blind as well as stubborn.
I glare at Loon, gripping my forearms. He'll be staying an entire month. How am I supposed to gather my thoughts with all of you nagging me around every corner?
You could simply do as you did in your letters and avoid the subject entirely.
Sadly, I don't think that tactic will work any longer. I straighten my crown and drop my eyes to the floor. Father would know what to do. I know you're thinking it.
Your father was a seasoned monarch, with many years of ruling under his belt. You have only been queen for a few months now. I'm sure your father also made stupid mistakes when he was young.
Excuse me?
Come. We should discuss how to handle this council meeting tomorrow.
I wonder if Loon was so blunt with Father. I want to think not, but perhaps Father admired his honesty. No, I wish to retire until the evening entertainment. I can tell Loon disapproves, but I'm not going to budge on this. I need some time. I do my best thinking alone.
Then I will see you at the performance. The ambassador will also be invited, so please be prepared to show a bit more tact.
Loon steps down from the stage the throne rests on and walks in the direction of the library. Before he can get too far, I call out his title. Advisor. He turns, and I approach until I am within speaking distance. What exactly did you and the ambassador discuss before my arrival?
Absolutely nothing of importance. He seemed quite eager to speak to you, and you alone.
Is that so? I would have thought he'd prefer starting the dialogue with you first, considering your station.
Yes, well, perhaps Andromeda has different ways of doing things. Is that all?
Yes. We part ways and I head to my room. A guard falls into step behind me as I pass through the doorway, their heavy armor clunking with each step. My thoughts are spinning. Whatever I decide will change the course of my life in Lauté forever. Part of me wants to sit down and force myself to make a decision now, but I know I mustn't push it. I promised myself I would not rush through this like I tend to do everything, and I want to make that arrogant ambassador wait. I visit the garden and let the sweet scents clear my mind. It is my favorite part of the castle. Private, quiet, with plenty of places in the attached maze to explore and enjoy. It is also the only place I am not required to be chaperoned. It is fully enclosed by a tall iron gate, and further protected by the tall hedges that form a secondary wall around the border.
Alright, time for the evening's entertainment.
That evening's entertainment is music. These are usually my favorite evenings, so I try not to let the arrival of the Andromedans sour the event for me. The Royal Symphony will play a selection of popular pieces from the season. Chairs have been set up in the throne room for the council and others in the court who have chosen to attend. As I approach the throne, I falter upon realizing an additional chair has been set beside it. Loon occupies his normal seat to my right, and to my left is... wonderful. The Andromedan ambassador looks over to me as I sit, and I force a smile. So glad you could join us, Ambassador.
I am interested to learn more about Lauté. Your entertainment seemed a good place to start.
I'm sure you will find our musicians very skilled.
Ambassador Rift rests a hand on one of his knees, turning to face Loon and me.
Yes. I heard that the Queen plays violin. Is that so?
It is.
The King of Andromeda is not musically gifted.
A shame. I find musical people to be so much more balanced. Perhaps due to the company, all the seats are filled this evening. As the orchestra warms up, I settle back into my throne, take a deep breath, and try to relax. The first chair violin opens with a long, mournful note, and I close my eyes to appreciate how the sound echoes in the large hall.
Your entertainment, it is different.
Annoyed at being interrupted so early into the song, I glance at the ambassador from my peripheral vision. How so?
Andromeda favors sword fights, jousts, competitions. Are all your leisure activities so stiff?
The implication makes me bristle in my seat. Loon clears his throat in warning. We know how to get our hands dirty. If you would give it a chance, you'd see it's not stiff at all. Let Loon speak. Do I trust myself to speak in the situation? It's very confrontational. I'll let my boy get a shot in.
It is so fascinating to see the areas where our two kingdoms differ, don't you agree, my queen? This is one of the reasons why I personally believe that bringing Andromeda and Lauté together can only be beneficial. Sharing our two cultures, vastly different as they are, can only enrich the lives of our citizens.
I nod, knowing that Loon can handle idle conversation with far more tact than I. This is the only response given, and I'm a bit taken aback by his rudeness. Loon and he are, after all, of the same station. One could even argue Loon held a higher one, considering the ambassador only received some extra esteem due to being a guest. However, Loon is not put off, continuing to speak as if they are not having a one-sided conversation.
Tell us more of the competitions you mentioned. What sort of games do you play?
Ambassador Rift finally looks to Loon.
Hammer throwing, archery, wrestling. I'm sure Lauté indulges in much the same.
Wrestling? He leans away as if my lack of knowledge about wrestling will be the thing that makes him go home early.
When two opponents grapple each other with the purpose of pinning one to the ground.
And no weapons are used?
Of course not. It is a test of physical strength.
Perhaps it is because I've always been on the smaller side, but I don't think I'd enjoy such a game. I think I prefer blade fighting. The ambassador leans forward to rest one elbow on his knees, looking between Loon and me with some bewilderment.
Well, of course we have that as well. What sports do you have?
Loon and I exchange a glance. We have Kolf. You attempt to hit a ball and reach certain goals in the fewest strokes. Ah, Kolf, my favorite pastime. Ambassador Rift looks away as he considers this. It is a game of strategy. I suppose you must have physical strength if you wish to hit the ball far.
That is true.
Golf.
It's almost amusing how disappointed he sounds.
I believe the commoners indulge in more physical competitions.
I see.
The orchestra plays 4 more songs before ending, as always, with the Lauté national anthem. The crowd all stands with palms pressed together, fanning out in opposite directions as they pay respect to the crown. Now that I am queen, I remain sitting and attempt to look worthy. As the musicians begin putting away their instruments and the crowd talks of the performance, I signal to the servants to begin serving the refreshments. Ambassador Rift steps away to speak with the other Andromedans. I relax minutely into my seat, resting my head in my hand.
Wine, my queen?
Yes, thank you. I lift it in appreciation, bringing the goblet under my nose to inhale the fragrant aroma. She offers one to Loon, but he shakes his head, instead turning in his seat to face me.
Are you ready for tomorrow morning? You are certain you don't wish to have a private meeting beforehand to go over appropriate phrases?
There is no need. The King of Andromeda gave me a month's time, and I intend to use it. The ambassador can say his piece, but he will not force me into an early decision. It's clear from the look on Loon's face that he doesn't trust me, but the last thing I want to do today is stay up all night with Loon listening to him go over diplomacy. Now, please, allow me to enjoy my drink in peace.
As you say, my queen.
Man, I would have gone for that private all-nighter, if you know what I mean, winku winku. Loon rises and steps off the stage. I know that he's likely heading to the chapel. Celeste sidles a little closer, clutching her tray to her chest.
So? What is the ambassador like?
A bore.
What? Impossible! No one with a beard that luscious can be a bore.
Well, he manages it.
I don't know. If the ambassador is any indication of an Andromedan man, maybe you should give this king a chance.
I want to say I don't find him that attractive, but I know that Celeste would hear the lie for what it was. I keep my mouth shut on the matter. With the orchestra gone, the magic in the air has left as well, and I am left with nothing but the tension of the day and concerns about tomorrow morning. It is getting late. I should retire.
Already? Usually you're the last to leave the evening entertainment.
I glance at the ambassador, still speaking to the other Andromedans. Yes, well, I'd rather not get dragged into more conversation by you-know-who. We will be speaking plenty tomorrow.
Shall I draw you a bath, my queen?
Yes, please. As Celeste and I leave the hall, I spare one last glance over my shoulder for the ambassador. In a spot of poor timing, I find him already looking at me, and our eyes meet. I quickly face forward again, hurrying my steps. Run! Ooh, this is so pretty. I love the colors so much. I have always been the type to sleep until woken by the servants, but on this morning I'm awake with the sun. I walk to my window and sit in the seat there, leaning against the cool glass. I have to remember. Stay firm, be diplomatic, be empathetic. I'm gonna go strategic again. If I do that, then all will go well. I repeat this to myself until I fall into a light doze.
My queen, are you all right? You didn't sleep there all night, did you?
I wake to Celeste's voice and sit up straight, rubbing a hand over my face. Oh, cute! Look at her pajamas. No. You wouldn't happen to have tea? She lifts the tray she's holding, and I see steam rising from a freshly poured cup. I give her a look I can only hope shows my eternal gratitude and follow her to the small table.
Today is the first meeting with the Andromedans, yes? I'll pick you out something special.
After Celeste dresses me, I finish the last of the tea in the pot. With warmth in my belly, I feel ready to face the challenge that awaits. When I exit my room, Loon stands right outside.
Good morning, my queen. I hope you slept well.
I hope the same for you. Is there a reason you've come to escort me?
To offer some advice ahead of this meeting. Please, think before you speak.
I resent that, advisor. I always think before I speak. Most of the time. Loon sighs and gestures for me to lead the way to the council room. I wish I weren't so nervous. I knew the ambassador would be coming soon, even if not quite this soon. Alright, I want to see this meeting. The air is tense and filled with whispers, to no surprise. My council leans close to gossip amongst themselves, eyes flicking to the Andromedans every so often. The Andromedans do the same, leaving everyone shifting and bobbing in a bizarre dance. The Louts have their usual seats, and the Andromedan council members sit in guest seats that have been pulled up as a second ring around the table. Ambassador Rift sits directly opposite my chair. I can feel his eyes on me as I enter the room, but I choose to ignore him as I walk around the table. Sahi is already in his seat to my left, and Loon takes his to the right. I am the last to sit.
I would like to begin by saying, the king sends his gratitude for allowing his presence in Lauté to discuss the future of our kingdoms.
I nod and keep my expression as neutral as possible.
With your father, King Terra I dead, the path ahead is clear.
Beneath the table, my hand curls into my skirts.
The late king promised you to King Aalam to unite our two kingdoms.
Excuse me? Promised?
The agreement was made long ago. On your 22nd birthday, you were to become King Aalam's bride.
You lie! Well, that's a bit of a sticky wicket, really. Well, I would have assumed Loon would have told me about this, and if he didn't, words will be exchanged. So, explain yourself?
I intend to. In our monthly correspondence, the king and I discussed the future of Lauté and Andromeda. We both agreed that the only way forward was together. A marriage is the most logical option. King Aalam and you are both of marriageable age and unspoken for. It is as simple as that.
My blood boils beneath my skin. I will not believe that my father would promise me away without my consent. He knew it has always been my wish to take the throne. King Aalam has ruled in Andromeda for the past 7 years. He has seniority over me. If I marry him, it will be his decision if we will share responsibility in Andromeda. I don't have to guess what his decision will be. I expect you have proof of this monthly correspondence. He snaps his fingers. One of his servants steps forward from where they wait close to the wall. He pulls a bundle of letters from a pouch at his waist and places them on the table. My heart pounds in my ears, but I do my best to keep my expression calm. Every part of me cries out with excuses. They must be forgeries, taken out of context. I will not know until I open them, but to do so now would be a mistake. I see. I will review these later to verify the validity of your claim.
You must understand that this comes as somewhat of a shock to the Queen.
I waited until this setting to bring it up, because I did not want to appear to disparage your father's name or question his honor. I hold nothing but respect for the late king, but promises were made, and I intend to see them through.
We certainly understand your point of view.
Understand? No, I understand nothing. My father promising me a way to the ruler of a place our kingdom has been at odds with for centuries? It doesn't make any sense.
In the meantime, perhaps we might discuss other things. For example, the terms of the marriage. What will happen to the borders were a wedding to move forward?
The ambassador nods, apparently content to change the subject for the time being. I am not content. I sit as tall as I am able, but my mind is spinning.
I will permit time to review the letters.
Loon leads the rest of the meeting, effortlessly directing attention away from my listless eyes and keeping the ambassador and his council engaged in the discussion naive. I pull myself together and come up with a few important topics that I'd rather cover sooner than later. Impulsive. I speak when I can, and when I do not feel certain of my words, pass the ball to Loon, who's always been an expert at sounding intelligent without saying anything. Yeah, that one. There are several things I know must be discussed, even if I'm talking around them, because I do not yet want an outcome decided. I need more information before I can effectively dispute these claims, and I have every intention of disputing them. It doesn't make sense. What benefit would my father have from marrying me off? He has no other heirs. He would have been forced to choose a successor. I can't believe he was willing to end our family's rule over Lauté. After hours of debate over an obscure clause in our treaty that forbids the carrying of Lauté fruits over the Andromedan border, I decided it's time to adjourn. We all know that we cannot discuss the asteroid in the room, and that's all we're interested in talking about, so we grow increasingly pedantic. We will reconvene in a week's time. There is a general agreement, and I am the first to stand. Loon, come. Loon gathers the letters the servants left on the table, bowing his head to the ambassador as he does so. I am far too incensed to bother with niceties. I know it will be best to look at the letters in the study, and so that is where I go. Loon walks to stand to the right of my chair, his usual position when we're working. He sets the letters down on the desk, and looks at me expectantly. I take a seat and adjust the crown on my head. It feels heavier than usual. There are 14 letters, the first one dated all the way back to 2 years ago. I'm not sure where to begin.
The beginning is always a smart choice.
I shoot Loon an irritated look, but pick up the letter with the oldest date. You read it. I'm gonna open it. I'm so frazzled, the tidy black script on the page looks like gibberish for several long seconds before I'm able to make sense of it. I skip over the first few lines, knowing they're nothing but greetings and polite fillers, heading straight for the meat of the letter.
Yet ready to consider the trade ban up for discussion. However, I do have another proposal for you. You are at an age where soon you will need a partner to keep your kingdom in balance. It is my understanding that you have yet to express interest in any of the eligible matches in Andromeda. I assume you have not looked at Lauté due to our history, but I write to tell you that your interest would be welcomed. My heir, Terra, will soon be of marriageable age. I believe it would be in both of our kingdoms' interest to make arrangements. This union could bring a new era of peace between our people. Terra still has much to learn about being a suitable ruler and a suitable match, but this time will be nothing compared to the decades our kingdoms have been at odds. That is why, with the signing of this letter, I officially list Terra as a betrothal prospect, and vow that on Terra's 22nd birthday, the marriage may move forward. You have always.
I cannot read any further. I drop the letter to the desk, eyes staring forward, sightless. My 22nd birthday is in a few short months. I notice my hand shaking and pull it close to me to hide it underneath the desk. Not only had my father promised me a way, he had done so of his own accord. There was no threat, no imminent danger that could only be resolved by a political marriage. This letter is from 2 years ago. That means that for all the times we spoke of me taking the throne, my father had no intention of actually allowing it. He lied to me. My chest aches for the betrayal.
My queen.
Yes, advisor. My voice comes out hollow.
I...
With some effort, I turn to look up at Loon. There is a distinct look of discomfort on his face, as if my emotion makes him uncomfortable. It's not fair. I look away, not wanting him to see the naked hurt on my face.
Look, I'm upset, okay? It's been a bit of a day, couple days, and the last 2 years have been a lie.
My queen. Please stop that.
The tears spill over my cheeks and I cover my face with my hands, embarrassed by my behavior. I am a queen, yet here I am crying over being lied to by my father. There's no helping it. My whole life, I've been led to believe I would take the throne in Lauté. Why? Why bother with the deceit? I thought there were no secrets between us. I thought he shared everything with me. If he told me he thought this was best, that this was right, then I could have accepted it. But this... Loon clears his throat and takes a step back.
You knew that you would need to marry for political reasons. Surely there's no need for...
all of this. He gestures at my face.
Yes, but in Lauté, I was told I was destined to rule. It's my birthright.
These words make Loon stiffen. He turns away from me, one hand lifting to cover his mouth.
Leave me.
Loon opens his mouth like he might protest, then closes it again and shakes his head.
As you wish.
Oh, and advisor. Call just the Lauté Council together in the morning. There is something we must discuss.
Loon gives a short bow, then hurries to the door. I gotta get out of here. For a second, all I can do is stare out the window. Then I stand. Alright, well, I think that's a good place to stop. We had a little bit of a bombshell moment there. So, we've been promised away. Anyway, I'm super invested in this story. I love it. The writing is so good. Everything looks gorgeous. Absolutely enjoyed my time with this. If you guys would like to check out the rest of the demo and build your own queen/king, whatever you'd like to do, I will leave a link to the demo down below. You can check it out on either Steam or Itch.io. And I hope you will go and support these guys during their Kickstarter. As I mentioned before, it's going till June 1st, and I will have a link to that in the description below for you as well. Thank you very much for joining me. I had a great time with this. Until next time, I will see you later.